If you look back at the trend rate of growth of per capita GDP in the United States over 100 years, about 1.8, Germany, Britain, so on, you're talking about 1.6 or thereabouts. So over long periods of time, countries grow at just a moderate pace. China has bucked that trend over almost a 30-year period, growing at an incredibly faster rate because of its unusual capacity at catching up. Now, I am somewhat midway between the stagnationists and others in terms of thinking about what the technological possibilities are. So I think in terms of general purpose technologies like electricity, the combustion engine and so forth, and now IT and the internet. And I say, how much juice is left in these particular general purpose technologies to power the Western economies? And my sense is that juice is diminishing. So we may be lucky and there'll be a new general purpose technology come and everything will be great and we'll back at 3 or 4%, only 3 or 4% per capita GDP growth rate. But doesn't look so good. So the European countries, the United States probably have to resign themselves to rates of growth of somewhere, the United States about 2.5%, Europe maybe 1.5% to 2%. Population decline will be a factor in the European case. Take the case now of China. And by the way, I'm a student of Japan, and reluctantly I'm looking at my armada of books and saying, what did they do wrong? But still, the country grows at 1.5% on the basis of declining population, and that's fantastic. So they're still ticking along, and I was there a month ago. It's a pretty good country. Infrastructure is far better than the United States. So there's something there which they have been managing to sustain in spite of all that we read about Japan. But on China, China, I think, still has the potential to keep growing at very rapid rates. And the reason is there's still something roughly like 160 million odd people who could be drawn into urban industrial activities, which would raise their productivity. Secondly, their agricultural system is amongst the most productive in the world in terms of yields. Now, they're using far too much fertilizer, then there's all that environmental consequences. They still have a lot of catching up to do, whether we are looking at the industrial system, where they are not yet at the frontier, or we are looking at services activities, tradable services, where they are far from the frontier. So there's a huge space to be made up. Their capital labor ratio is only 12% of the United States. So even though they are investing hand over fist, they still have a lot of ground to make up. So at one level, I would think growth rates, not 10%, but growth rates 5 to 6%, with population growing at less than 1%, means you can continue moving along at a very rapid pace. The problem for them is pollution and environmental problems. Those have become enormous, and that is something that may force them to reconsider and slow down. Now, they also have created an enormous amount of excess manufacturing capacity. They also created an enormous amount of excess infrastructure and housing. All of those have implication, depreciation, maintenance, you name it. So this is a baggage for the future which they have accumulated. So this country will have to, in the next few years, hopefully arrange a soft landing for itself at a new level of equilibrium, which may be 4 to 5% growth. Fantastic, given that population is increasing at a minuscule rate. So that's where the country is. Certainly, it'll grow quite rapidly unless there is, unforeseen events on the political front and so forth. Will it be a huge engine for the rest of the world? To some extent, yes. Will it be the same engine it was 5 years ago? Probably not. But enormous power in the world. Will it implode like Japan, as many people think it might? I don't believe so. It still has a lot of legs there. Japan, for demographic and other reasons, was reaching a frontier.